All right, guys, we can just go ahead and get started. First off, thank you guys for joining. I'm happy to be here. Thank you to, Christina, Stephanie for all the effort they put in, putting this together. I probably have the best duo right here in Aspen Dental. Look at these guys. But those of you that don't know me, my name is Sammy Gilla. I'm the academic relations manager for Aspen Dental Management, and I cover the District 4 schools. So I'm the one who typically go and host events for you guys. I'm hoping to do that soon. Also, shout out to Chapel Hill for recently hosting a vendor fair. It was nice to come out there and actually have some human interaction. But I'm going to go ahead and let our two panelists introduce themselves and just kind of give us the quick background about them. Dr. Lamoureux, would you like to start?
Sure, I'd love to. What's up, D4? My name is Dr. Paul Lamoureux. I graduated in 2019 over from Oregon Health and Sciences University. I was very, very active in ASDA. I served on the board of trustees a couple years ago with Anna Hill Moses, who was your trustee at the time. Had a lot of fun in ASDA, learned a lot of stuff. Got out, went in with Aspen. I work as the managing clinical director or the lead dentist down at an office in Southern Oregon. And I just am in the process of buying my office. So I become an owner on April 1st, which is very, very exciting.
That's awesome. When did you graduate again?
2019.
Okay. And then Dr. Robers, a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I am Dr. Tyler Robers. I also graduated in 2019. I went to Marquette up in Wisconsin, and I also served on the board with Anna and Paul. That's why Paul and I have matching jackets. I work in Northeast Wisconsin, very near Green Bay. And I've been there. I've been in a couple different offices, but I've been there now for the last 9 months. 10 months. We opened right before COVID. So I have some interesting experience about being a lead dentist and having a brand new office during COVID.
Yeah, I mean, COVID's obviously affected everybody pretty harshly. Dental school is hard enough, during a pandemic, I can't imagine. So I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions. So the way it's going to work is at the bottom of the screen, it says Q&A. You guys will be able to submit questions to us. I'll be able to read them out to our two docs here today. But before we get started, I'm going to share a quick video with you guys. I'm going to share my screen. Can you guys see that? Yeah, cool. All right. These are probably some questions that have gone through your guys' head. If they haven't, they probably will eventually. And Dr. Robers and Lamoureux have been in your shoes not too long ago. So, take advantage of this time. They're volunteering their time to talk to you guys. I'm really appreciative for them, volunteering. So take a look at this video and, try and start thinking of questions, submit them. So I like to show that video just because there's, those are a lot of questions that you guys probably have on your minds already. What is there for me after dental school? What options do I have? And this is the best way to figure it out. When I talk to dental students, the main thing I tell them to do is figure out why you went to dental school in the first place.
Tell my wife, I said,
oops.
I said, I'll never leave Aspen. I said, there's only two ways I'm leaving. One,
sorry about that, guys. Figuring out what your guys' goals are and then, going from there. So one of the first questions that I see here is, what were you looking for in your first job as a dentist? Dr. Robers, you want to take that one first?
Yeah. One of the big things for me was some sort of guarantee with my pay. Getting out of school, I knew I would have lots of loans to pay off. And I also just wanted to be busy. I figured the best way to get experience and grow my speed and skills was just see a lot of patients and work hard. I was ready to work hard out of school. So that was kind of one of the things I was looking for. I had heard from other docs that were going into private practice that they didn't quite have a fully guaranteed salary or were not confident about what they were going to be doing. And so it was nice to have some of those answers.
Yeah, for sure. So Dr. Lemmer, what were you looking for?
One of the big things that, drew me to Aspen, after looking around a bit was just the level of autonomy that we have. In our D4 year at Oregon, we spent some time doing externship, and I worked in a public health clinic where I was doing a lot of treatment that other doctors had treatment planned that I didn't necessarily feel was like the best treatment for the patient. And it was very awkward, and it made that time difficult. And I was like, man, I don't want to go into an associate position or an area where I don't, get to do dentistry I believe in and feel good about. And that was something that I really liked about Aspen. There's even something like at the end of our contracts that state like, no one does the treatment planning except a doctor. Don't do anything that you don't feel comfortable with. And if anyone ever tries to force you to, you report them to the company. And, I've been very happy. I get to do the dentistry that, I feel like I was trained to do in school, and I've been very grateful for it.
Awesome. So that's something I've heard a lot, like just traveling to dental schools about the whole autonomy thing. Like a lot of students are nervous about that they don't have the autonomy to, treatment plan or to do what they want to do clinically. And that's a, valid question to ask. So I have a little, wager here. So if you guys want to go to your Q&A tab and get your keyboards ready, I have a little cash on the line. So the first person who can type out what does DSO stand for, I'll give them a $10 Amazon gift card.
Do we get to participate?
No, students only. Da, 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 da. Nobody knows what DSO stands for? Come on, guys.
The D is for Dogecoin, right?
Oh, we have nobody. Okay. So, okay. We have Robert Wu. He was the first. So yes, it stands for Dental Service Organization or Dental Support Organization, either way. So Aspen Dental Management is the dental support organization. So that's who I work for. The two docs here, they work for a doctor in a practice. So Aspen Dental Management's job is to make sure all of the 860 plus Aspen Dentals across the country have all the non-clinical support that they need. And all of these practices are owned by, doctors. They're not owned by ADMI or Aspen Dental Management. Is there anything you guys want to just add on to that briefly about, DSOs and kind of our role? Either one of you.
I feel like you explained it pretty well.
Okay. All right. So we'll just go ahead and go to the next question. So somebody's asking, what are the hours like? Dr. Lammer, you want to take that one first?
Yeah, definitely. So I work 5 days a week, and that's split up. So we work 7 to 5, 3 of those days. So Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday there. Then on Friday, we come in a little bit later. We start at 9 o'clock in the morning, go till 7. And then on Fridays, we open at 7 and we close at 12. So just a half day on Friday. And then work about one Saturday a month from 8 to 3.
Cool. Is that pretty similar for you, Dr. Rovers?
Not quite. I guess I don't work as much as Paul does, but we work 7:45 to 5, 3 days a week. We only have a half-hour lunch, and that was kind of by design. I think if I could, I'd just cut out our lunch and we'd eat one between patients. But then we work 9:45 to 7 one day a week. That's Tuesday for us. And then Fridays we work 7 to noon. And then I actually have my Saturday for the month tomorrow, and our Saturdays are only 8 to noon. So it's pretty low key Saturday.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, guys, it goes, back to what I was saying before, like all of these practices are owned by doctors. It's kind of their say, and the geography where the practice is kind of has a say in that. The patient demographic, it'll vary from practice to practice. So the next question is asking, what are your most common procedures? For example, mostly fillings, extractions, etc. Dr. Lamoureux, you want to take that one first?
Sure. I'd say my procedures are about 50%, traditional bread and butter dentistry, so, fillings, crown and bridge. And then the other half is more related to dentures. So full mouth extractions and deliveries, and then, various impression related steps, adjustments, things of that nature.
Cool. So you're in Oregon. Dr. Roberts, you're in Wisconsin. Would you say it's pretty similar?
Yeah, I would say probably about the same. It's nice that we can kind of pick and choose what you want to do too. Like Paul was saying, you do have the autonomy to do whatever you want. So like, I don't feel comfortable doing endo. So I refer all that out. I do pretty much all of my own extractions, except there's some things I just don't feel comfortable. So I refer those out. But like Paul said, about half bread and butter dentistry, maybe in my office more than that. And then the other half denture steps and stuff.
Cool. Do you have like specialty that come in, or?
Yeah, we had our oral surgeon in today. So we have an oral surgeon that comes once a month to our office, and mostly I have him see like medically compromised patients I don't want to see, or people that want sedation, things like that, or like impacted wisdom teeth I don't like taking out. So he'll see all those kind of people, but it's a nice boost to the practice that he comes to our office, and nice for the patients that they don't have to go somewhere else as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Lamoureux, is there anything you want to add on to that?
Yeah, so in my office, we're just in an area that's hard to get specialists to. So we haven't had a lot of specialists. We had an endo for a little while, but they ended up deciding they didn't like to drive all the way down from Portland to my office. So I do a fair amount of endo. Our endo in town is like booked out into March. So a lot of times I'll do, open in med to kind of get people out of pain and then let him finish those cases. But man, if you want to go to a great office and work as an oral surgeon, I am looking.
All right. All right. Somebody's asking, how long are the contracts for, and is there a non-compete? Dr. Rovers, you want to take it first?
So they're not contracts, they're agreements, I think they're called.
Yeah.
So there's no like set time that you have to work for Aspen. There's no non-competes or anything like that. The only thing, sometimes if you have like a sign-on bonus or relocation bonus or something like that, so there'll be something in your agreement that if you don't work a certain amount of time, you got to pay part of that back or something. But other than that, yeah, there's no amount of time you have to stay with Aspen or non-competes or anything like that.
Yep. And Dr. Lamoureux, anything you want to add?
No, Dr. Roberts nailed that.
Okay. Yeah. So pretty logical. If you're offered a significant amount of money, they expect you to invest in them as well and not just take the money and run, which is pretty fair. That's a good question. I do see that question a lot. So another question here is, what does it look like for a new grad starting at Aspen? And did you have a good experience? Did you feel supported? So there's a few. New grad starting at Aspen. So Dr. Lamoureux, you graduated 2019, not long ago. How did it play out for you when you first started?
Yeah. The one thing to know about Aspen is like we age in dog years. So even though I'm a year and a half out of school, I'm like 10 years into practice now. But one of the things I really wanted to do is I wanted to work in Southern Oregon, and Aspen had an opportunity down there, but there was no, mentor doc in the office. And I knew that was something I was a little worried about. So I'd expressed that, to the folks that had recruited me and, the clinical doctors down there. And they're like, you know what, we'll take, some extra time onboarding you. What do you need help in? I was like, well, I know you do a lot of surgery. I didn't get a lot of surgical experience. That's something I'm worried about. They sent me up on my own, like, mini surgical residency for a month with this amazing doctor up in Washington. I just watched him do extractions and implants and impacted thirds. And he was a great mentor, taught me a lot of stuff, really boosted my confidence there. From there, they also knew that I wanted to, be an owner. So they also had set me up with him because he owned multiple offices. So he kind of talked to me about, ownership and, what to do and how to, manage staff and all sorts of different things like that. And from there, I went into Aspen has something, I think it's recently renamed, but it used to be called the Doctor Development Program, where you basically get partnered up with a mentor doctor and you start slowly working their schedule. So you come in day one, you shadow. Day two, you might, start doing a little bit of procedures, filling here, different things. By the end of 6 weeks, you're working their whole schedule, and they're sitting there being like, oh, this is great, I have a lackey. And then when they feel that you're confident enough to run your office, they release you and you go do that. And that was wonderful because I never felt like I was ill prepared, and I met so many doctors along the way in Aspen that I could communicate with and text or say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this extraction, here's the pano, what do you think, what are your tips? And it's just it was a great experience. I never felt like I was unsupported any step of the way there.
Sweet, that's awesome. Especially the situation you were in coming in. So Dr. Rovers, how was it for you when you first came on?
Mine was a lot different. It was partially my own fault. I signed on to be a lead dentist, and the office that I was going to had like a temporary doctor. So I was excited. I was confident to get going and get to working. So when I started out, I was also set up with a mentor doc, but ours worked a little differently because I've always kind of been hands-on, and that's how I learn best. So I think I had the first day of shadowing, and then the next day I kind of took over her schedule, and then she helped where needed. And looking back on it, I kind of wish I would have taken it a little slower. I think I would have maybe picked up some things, but it did help me increase my speed. And I felt like within 3 months, I did about 2 to 3 months of training with that doc, working with her through her schedule and everything. And then I was off on my own, and I felt confident that I could make it through a schedule and do all those things.
Sweet, awesome. Yeah, hindsight's always 20/20, right? So speaking of hindsight, this is probably something you guys never thought of, but it's a good question. If you went to dental school again, what would you do differently? Dr. Robers, you want to take that one first?
Sure. I would have probably tried to spend more time in the specialty clinics, because now coming out, like at our school, we had almost no endo experience. So coming out, I don't feel comfortable. Oral surgery, we had a little experience in school, probably not enough to really feel super comfortable, but I wish I would have spent a little more time in those, because even if you come out of school a little slow doing fillings and stuff like that, that's what you're going to be doing the majority of every day. So you'll really pick up your speed quickly, and you know what you're doing with that. But trying to learn as much as possible in those other areas would be helpful.
Awesome. And then Dr. Lammer, how about you? What did you do differently in dental school?
Yeah, I tried to be really, really active in dental school. I was in ASDA, I was in SPIA, I participated with our state association. I did a lot of things that, took me out of the dental school classroom and out of the clinic there. I think in my senior year, I missed something like 60 clinic sessions because I was doing ASDA and different things, which is crazy. And what I would actually do is I would do more of that. There was a lot of opportunities that I had. So it's like, oh, I could have, gone on this weekend clinic and, worked on this extraction van, or I could have went on this trip, but I was so worried about like, there's always, a test or something coming up that you're like, oh, it's so important that I know the Krebs cycle or some shit. And I let that get the better of me, and I missed some opportunities that I really wish I would have taken. Because all the time you actually spend, doing dentistry and working with, like Tyler said, specialists or doctors that are out in the real world, that's where you're really learning, and that's the stuff that's way, way more valuable than the Krebs cycle.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so there's obviously going to be a lot of questions regarding like the pandemic, right? So somebody's asking, what have been some of your biggest obstacles during the pandemic? I know, Dr. Lammer, you've been going through it a little bit. Do you want to share kind of how it's been for you?
Yeah, I mean, when the pandemic hit, and it's kind of rough because it sort of happened like so suddenly, and I don't think anybody knew what to do. And we got to a point where all of our patients are canceling, and then it's like we're not seeing patients, and we're just kind of sitting in the office. We're trying to get things in. We're worried about, well, do we want to do procedures? What aerosol precautions do we need? What PPE do we need? And I got a call on one Friday. They're like, hey, we're going to close your office. And I was like, oh, okay. I don't even know what to do. And, by that Monday, they had kind of set up a teledentistry program. I worked as a teledentist with Aspen for, 2.5 months, while my office was closed, and kind of things got to a level where we could, reopen and start seeing patients again once things calmed down. I know every state's a little bit different, but Oregon had a pretty crazy, stop order on like everything for the most part. So that was really interesting, and that really, changed a lot of what I thought I would be doing, right out of school. It also, just when I started thinking I was hitting my stride, and it's like, oh, I know how to do things, suddenly I didn't do a fill-in or anything for 2.5 months. I just did a lot of landscaping at my house, moved like 2.5 tons of rock, or way more than that. I forget how much, a lot, trust me. But then we went back in and, kind of recovering from that, adjusting to the new normal, figuring out the PPP requirements and, everything. And it's still kind of a changing environment. We're still kind of, now how do we roll out the vaccine? Do we let people back in the waiting room, different stuff. So it's, I don't know, it keeps it exciting. And my student loan payments and interest have been deferred until September 30th. So that's been really nice.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody can appreciate that right now. Dr. Rovers, how about you? During the pandemic, how's it been?
So my office opened like March 5th, and then I think we got shut down on like the 17th or something like that.
Wow.
So we were not quite open 2 weeks, and it caused a lot of changes with our office, I guess. I was set to partner in that office with the owner doc in the area, and was actually going to kind of partner right off the bat with that office opening. Kind of glad I didn't sign the paperwork, because being fresh out of school, I can't imagine having to make payments when I wasn't working. But coming back then in end of May, June, we were kind of a brand new office again, and trying to start a brand new office in the middle of a pandemic was quite difficult, to get patients coming in the door and everything like that. But it's starting to pick up now. Now that we're into 2021, we're hitting our stride, and where we thought we would be at, opening up and everything. But I think the biggest obstacle we faced is just kind of keeping our staff safe, whenever anybody has any possible symptoms or anything like that, making sure they stay home, and then trying to figure out how to maneuver the schedule or work around it, and what we can do to still see patients. And emergency tooth pain and lots of breaking teeth didn't stop during this pandemic, which has been quite interesting. A lot more broken teeth I've seen. I don't know if you've seen the same, Paul, but so trying to figure out how to get patients in safely. But for me, it was even more figuring out how to protect our staff too.
Yeah, I think like during the worst of it, it was like skeleton crews in a lot of places, doctor, hygiene, office manager, and that's it pretty much. Um, in terms of like PPE, how did that work for you guys? Were you guys pretty covered? Yeah.
Yeah, we
So
didn't have to worry about it at all. That was one nice thing is um we actually couldn't order PPE. Aspen kind of just set it up that they would auto ship us what we would need for however long, or 2 weeks, or however long we got our shipments for. So that was kind of nice. There were some things that each office kind of figured out on their own, what worked for them and stuff like that. But the bare necessities of it were all taken care of, which was very nice.
sweet. Yeah, so just from what I've heard, that so we buy most of our supplies from Henry Schein. That's where a lot of this PPE came from. And Aspen Dental is the second largest buyer from Henry Schein, due to the fact that we have so many, offices to supply. Um, I'll give another $10 Amazon gift card to who can tell me who's the largest buyer from Amazon, or from Henry Schein. If anybody can type that in, I'll give you guys $10 for Amazon. But yeah, so the fact that we have over 860 practices and we work with Henry Schein, we're able to leverage the costs. So that's another huge, benefit when it comes to, just getting supplies for the office. Cause that it's a business, it costs money, it's things that are going to come out of the profits of the practice. Still waiting for the answer, but I'll go ahead and just tell you guys, it's the US government. So the US government, and then it's Aspen Dental Management. But thank you guys. So another good question here. What do practice owners look for in a new grad? Dr. Lamoureux, you want to take that one first?
I haven't hired anybody yet, so it's hard to think. I think it's a lot of it, and this is really, it's not just a new grad coming in as a dentist, but it's also anybody that you hire in your office. It's about the culture, because we are the keepers of the culture, right, Dr. Rovers. Sorry, that's something we learned at a CE together a long time ago. But you want somebody that really fits in with your team, and I think that's the most important thing is when you're interviewing somebody, that you introduce them to everybody, you get a feel for how they fit in that dynamic. Because I have had probably the best dental assistant technically in the room chair side, but did not get along with others, and I lost really good staff as a result of that. Not the best move. And you got to think about, how is this graduate that you're bringing in going to fit with the team? So if you're a new grad, when you're interviewing and everything like that, think about, they're going to evaluate on that, but also you want to be going to a place where you're respecting the people that you're going to work with. You're liking the feel and the atmosphere of the office. Don't just look at, oh, they're going to give me this in the contract. If you go there and interview and you're like, wow, I didn't like anyone there, probably not going to work out for you.
Yeah, it's a great point. Dr. Robers, what about you? What would you, say practice owners look for?
Yeah. I mean, the culture is the biggest thing. Really your personality, your willingness to learn are also big important things. I think that they're looking when you sign on. Like, you're not going to know everything and be perfect at everything when you come out of dental school. So as long as you're willing to work hard and learn, I think, and willing to, or able to fit in with the staff there, I think that's super important. And I want to reiterate what Paul said. I think it's super important that you also interview them when you get out of dental school and whatever job you're looking for, because you got to be the right fit there. I know my first office I was in with Aspen, I never got to really meet the staff or anything like that. Like I said, there was kind of temp back holding down the fort until I got there. And so they wanted to try to figure out how to make that transition without making it awkward. But yeah, I never got to meet the staff. And then as soon as I got there, it was just not the right fit for me with that staff there. So it it ended up there was a better opportunity that opened up rather than kind of trying to revamp the staff there. I transitioned to another practice not far away. I'd really kind of hit it off with the owner doc that had trained me. So then I moved to one of her offices and went from there.
Yeah, awesome. So something that, when dental students come out of school, they always want to be in like, they want to be in Boston, they want to be in Charlotte, North Carolina, Richmond, Virginia, like in the big cities, right? The nice cities. And it makes sense, of course, right? Don't we all? But one thing I always stress is like the mentorship piece is probably the most important. And then the location, like just like you did, Dr. Robers, you can always relocate in the future if it's not a good fit or if you're wanting to move somewhere else. But yeah, just piggybacking off what you were just answering, what are some good questions to ask during an interview when you're talking to the owner? I know it's kind of putting you guys on the spot, but Dr. Lamoureux, you want to take that one first?
Yeah, I think one of the things, when you're coming in and you're evaluating, a position or whatnot, you got to understand what you're going to do and how you're going to be compensated for that. So if you're, evaluating a contract and it's like you're on 30% production or something like that, it's like, okay, well, am I going to be doing all the treatment that I prescribe, that I diagnose on, new patients? Is that going into my column, or, are we going to pick and choose? I have a lot of friends that, went into places and they thought they were getting a good deal, but it turns out that the owner doc does all the crowns, they do all the fillings, and 30% of a filling is not a whole lot. So understanding, that part of it, you also kind of want to understand what the office does. Dr. Robers and I both kind of shared, we're sort of 50% bread and butter, 50%, surgery type stuff. That's not common for your general private practice. You probably don't do that much surgery. Do they do endo there? If not, are they wanting you to do endo there? Is that something that you can kind of build your schedule on? I think those are the two big things. So just to reiterate, what you do and how you get paid for it.
Yeah, for sure. Dr. Robers, what about you? What do you think are some good questions to ask before, making a decision?
I would, I would definitely try to get to the office that you're going to be working at and meet the staff, kind of get a feel for how they work, if you can even get there during a day that they're working, and kind of just observe too. I think that would be really beneficial. But I would say main things like Paul said to ask were what you'd be doing on a daily basis. And I think Aspen spells it out pretty clearly as far as like compensation goes, especially if you're an associate. But wherever you go, like get a true idea of what that compensation is going to be, because sometimes you might hear numbers that seem like, oh my gosh, this is great, I'm going to make 350,000 out of dental school. That's pretty unlikely that you would do that. So if a number sounds too good to be true, just kind of get the background on that and try to figure it out for yourself, and find it, if you have a mentor doc that can help you with that too, that helps great too.
Yeah, definitely. Talk to your professors about it, mentors, whoever you have, 100%. So this next question here, this is a good one, general, but what are your favorite and least favorite things about working for Aspen? Dr. Robers, you want to take that one first?
My favorite things about Aspen, I think my favorite thing is the variety of stuff that we get to do. I think I didn't think I would like doing dentures, to be honest. Coming out of dental school, I kind of signed on with Aspen and was like, well, I'm going to have to do dentures, but I like doing surgery and stuff, so it'll be okay. But I actually really enjoy giving people their smile back. We do see, I would say I see multiple patients a week that are like, I just want my smile back. I haven't smiled in years and I just want to have that confidence to smile again. Or I haven't been to the dentist in 30 years and I know this is a mess, but I want my smile back. And so that's probably my favorite thing about Aspen, is that I've had grown people bawling in the chair, breaking down, crying in the chair after we do an extraction and delivery for them, and they get to see their smile for the first time in 30 years or whatever. So that's my favorite thing. Least favorite thing, I think my least favorite thing would probably be, I wish I had more control of my schedule, of like the scheduled hours. I know that there's definitely a benefit to the way we do things, to be able to get patients in. Working a late night and working on a Saturday and everything like that is a huge benefit. But sometimes I wish I could have a 4-day week occasionally.
Yeah, definitely. Dr. Lammer, how about you? Favorite and least favorite?
Yeah, a favorite, and kind of going with what Tyler said, is, you're here if you are with Aspen, or go to some of the things that, we're a company that's built on yes, which can sound cheesy, but it's so true. We're sort of built in a way that a patient can come in and it's like, oh, can I be seen today? Yeah, of course you can. And that'll kind of switch up our schedule, and we have to juggle things, make things happen. But I don't know, for me that's really exciting. I love adding same day dentistry to the schedule. Like, we had somebody that came in and they had, some teeth that were hurting. They wanted to transition to dentures and wanted some out now, but it was something that, I didn't want to take all their teeth, but we added something like 14 extractions to the schedule that day by doing their posteriors, and then we're kind of doing, heal, get some bite blocks, then we'll do the rest of the extract and delivery in a week or so. But that's exciting to me. We also, like, anything that you could ever want, you just kind of tell them, and it's like, hey, I want to start doing implants. It's like, okay, great. Here's like all the seed to do. Here's, how we're going to put you on that track. We'll, look at getting you a CBCT in the office so you can start doing that. It's like, oh, I want to play with lasers. Great. Here's laser. Here's some CE. It's been really exciting to be able to, pursue any interest I've had in dentistry. In the, on the other side of it, we work a pretty full schedule. We see a lot of patients, and, I like to think I probably have something like a 95% happy patient rate. So, 19 out of 20 people I see are thrilled, and that's great. There's that 1 out of 20 that's upset. And when you see over 20 patients a day, you get to see one of those patients pretty frequently. And that can be really easy to focus on the 1 and not the 19. So that's something I try to work on, as, focus more on the happy people, but it can be frustrating at times.
I'm going to change my answer. I agree with Paul. That's the worst thing, but that would be anywhere.
Yeah, it's true. Great answers, guys. Thank you. So somebody's asking, how many dentists total work for your office? And then parentheses, more regularly than 1 per month specialist. Dr. Robers, you want to take that one?
Yep, just me. I'm the only doc. We have 1 hygienist, and then all of our staff. Yep,
and then Dr. Lemmer, how is it for you?
Same thing. I'm a one-man operation. Have 1 hygienist and then 3 DAs, 2 front desk.
Yeah, but typically, like, when you go through the mentorship, like the doctor development program or Discover Aspen, you're assigned a mentor as soon as you come on, and you have a mentor for a month, for 4 weeks that you work with. They're never really just going to throw you, in the deep end if you're not prepared. You have to be able to say that you're ready, like what Dr. Robers did. But I mean, did both of you have a mentor when you first came on? You guys want to talk about, or I guess you guys already did explain a little bit how that works. But depending on the office, how does it work in terms of docs? It's 2 docs if it's a busier office, 1 doc if it's not as busy. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, there's 1 office in my area that has 2 docs, but in my area, we're in, I guess, a little more rural Wisconsin, so less busy or less demand.
Yeah.
Bigger area.
I hear you. So a lot of the only reason I ask is a lot of the offices in like North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina, I've seen a lot of 2 doctor offices. There's a lead dentist and then also an associate. Most of the time the associates are new grads or newer grads. But yeah, so we'll go on to the next question here. Somebody's asking, how does Aspen differ from other corporate dental offices? This question's asked a lot. I don't know how much you guys know about other dental offices or DSOs, but do you guys want to take a swing at that?
Yeah, sure. So story time, when I went into dental school, my wife's dad is a dentist. So I thought I would, work with him. But as I went through, undergrad and then into dental school, he kind of slowed his practice down to the point where it doesn't really support two dentists. So in my, end of my third year, I was like, we kind of decided where I want to live, but I need to find a job. So I started interviewing with everybody, private practice offices, I interviewed with a prison, public health, and every DSO. And really Aspen was the one that would put me in the location, that I wanted. And I kind of I felt, good about a number of things, but I did get to, interview at other places, shadow, see a lot of the model. Biggest thing about Aspen, we have an on-site lab that really changes the type of dentistry that we do. You're going to do dentures, you're going to do a lot of surgery with Aspen, which I like that stuff. So that works out really well for me. So that's a big part of it. We're structured in a way where we can efficiently, see a higher volume of patients and work between things by having, like a new patient column where we're doing exams, we're having a, production column where we're doing our procedures, be they extractions or fillings or whatever. But then we have this overflow column where we might do, denture steps, denture jobs, quick things. A lot of my appointments, my, total chair time with the patient, the DA might be in there for longer, but I'm only maybe in the room for, 5 minutes or less, taking an impression or doing something. So it allows you to produce a lot, which, goes back to that compensation thing. There's a profit share that works out if you're an associate or an MCD or whatnot, and producing a lot translates to making a lot. So that was something that also kind of caught my attention. I'm pretty shallow, so I'll just throw that out there. Like the money part was one of the reasons I went into dentistry. I'll let Tyler take it from there, I guess.
Just really quick before Tyler goes, you interviewed at a prison?
Yeah. There's a prison down here. It's called Pelican Bay. It's where Charlie Manson is or was. I can't remember if he passed or not, but they had an opening and I was like, prison dentistry, government job, holidays off, interesting. It's sort of in the area that we wanted to live. I interviewed, I didn't get offered, but it was interesting. It was something that I don't know. It would have been a cool job, I guess, but I think I like this better.
It's a pretty cool story though. I've never met somebody that interviewed at a prison. That's cool. So Dr. Rovers, how about you? Anything that you can touch on to that about?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't interview at any other DSOs. I had talked to some of them for a while. But I don't know a whole lot about them, to be honest, other than a couple of classmates that may have worked for them.
Yeah. So just like the biggest thing, like what somebody asked earlier about what are the, questions to ask, make sure you're asking questions, figure out what exactly you're getting into, figure out if you fit in with the culture. You don't want to work with somebody you don't like, right? So that's a big thing. All right, another good question here. What was the hardest thing for you to adjust to when you started out of dental school? Dr. Lamoureux, you want to take that one first?
Sure. I had to come to terms with how horrible I was at everything. I was slow, nothing was really good. I think my first extraction was I don't know, it was 2 hours and I had to send it to oral surgery and it was one that I could do in 5 minutes. But yeah, it's just it's totally different when, you get out of there and you realize, oh, there's nobody, here to kind of help me out or oh, how do I know if I did a good job? It's just such an adjustment, when you're not having to, check in with an extractor at everybody's oh, I cut the tooth. You want to come look? There's no one to come look. So it's just kind of getting there and, figuring out what you need to work on and then, learning how to address that, through mentorship and CE and different things like that. And it's, it's a pretty quick adjustment. I got okay-ish, pretty quickly, and I think I'm probably still there.
Yeah, always getting better, right? We're all practicing. Yeah, Dr. Rowers, what about you? What was tough for you?
I think the main thing was kind of along those same lines, adjusting to in dental school when every appointment was 3 hours and I could do one filling in 3 hours and still graduate. And now doing a lot more than that. And I think balancing 3 different chairs at times with new patients, overflow and production, and then doing hygiene checks on top of that. Just figuring out how to time manage. I think it came pretty quickly, but it was definitely different. And I think just in general, like at the end of the day, I was pretty exhausted because I was only used to seeing 2 patients a day. And then got out and I was seeing 20 or 30 patients a day. And it's a little
Yeah.
bit different.
Yeah, definitely. Would you say, like, how did the mentorship help you guys in terms of, making those adjustments that you needed?
Just having that person that you could reach out to, and knowing it was okay to reach out to them. I sent a lot of texts in that first week, like, oh no, what do I do here? Or I did this, is that okay? Or what material do I use for this? Just a lot of, figuring stuff out, and just knowing that there was, always someone there that I could reach out to was really helpful.
Sweet. Dr. Roberts, what about you?
Kind of to go along what Paul was saying before, it's kind of a humbling experience coming out of dental school and realizing how much you don't know, and being able to have someone to bounce ideas off of. And like Paul said, if you, there were definitely times where I'd get stuck on an extraction where the mentor doc I worked with is a rock star at surgery, and so full mouth extraction case for her takes her like a half hour. And so then when I took over her schedule and it was only scheduled for an hour, I got about 45 minutes in. I only had like 3 teeth out. So had to ask for some help to bail me out. But that worked out well for me to learn. I just kind of had to figure out how to get faster. And like I said, it was really nice to have someone to bounce ideas off of, because I might have graduated overconfident thinking I knew a lot, but there's a lot to learn once you get out.
Yeah, absolutely. And this job, your guys' careers, like, it holds a lot of integrity because the patients don't know how good of a job you've done, obviously if they're in pain, but, like, you guys are the ones who know how good of a job you've done at the end of the day. And that just goes to show how good of a dentist or bad a dentist somebody is. So the next question here is, who do you think is the biggest benefit, or what do you think is the biggest benefit that DSOs provide to patients? Dr. Lammer, you want to take that one first?
Yeah, kind of what I was saying before, in that yes culture, and having, a patient be able to walk in and say, hey, can I get an appointment right now? Well, of course. And I get to the chair and they're like, oh, I have this issue. When can we do this? And I say, well, you're here, I'm here. Why don't we do it right now? Most places they're not set up to operate like that. We get a lot of patients, that come over and they're like, hey, I have this tooth that needs to be out, or this filling that needs to be done, or whatever it is, but they can't get me in at whatever office for a month and a half. Can you do it sooner? It's like, yeah, you're here, let's do it right now. And patients are just really, really grateful for that. And I think that's, probably the biggest benefit, at least in my market, that we have for people.
Yeah, definitely. Dr. Roberts, what about you?
I would say the exact same thing. We get a lot of emergency patients that said they called all kinds of other offices, and we were the only ones that could get them in that right then. But to expand on that too, I think we do some services that are things cheaper than other places do sometimes. Like we have dentures advertised for $400. Helps that we have an on-site lab, and there are a lot of patients that simply cannot afford to pay any more than that for dentures. And we have like payment plans and things that just make dentistry available to patients that otherwise couldn't afford it.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to like piggyback off that is just the availability to, like what you guys mentioned. There's over 860 practices, and this year in 2021 they want to open 80 more. Like, they're just trying to get in front of as many people as possible. And it's only going to help everybody, right? The patient is going to be helped. Obviously America's, massively underserved when it comes to dental care, right? Like, we're providing jobs for so many people. There's a lot of, benefits that really, change people's lives on all sides. Great answers, guys. Thank you. Here's a good question. What has helped you the most with treatment acceptance? Dr. Robers, you want to go first?
Yeah, I have learned and tried a lot of different things in my time working. And I think one thing that's really helped me is, as far as treatment acceptance goes, is one, the main thing is getting to understand what the patient wants or what their goals are, because you could tell them the most beautiful treatment plan ever, but if they are not on the same page, or they don't understand, or those don't align with their goals, they're not going to accept it. And then two, for me, the other biggest thing is learning how to use like resources to better show patients what's wrong with their mouth or teeth, or what you can do for them to help them out. So I always make sure every new patient gets a 3D scan with our iTero, and then that's always pulled up when I come into the room. And I use that almost probably more than x-rays to show patients what is going on with their teeth, because they can see exactly what I see when I look in their mouth. So using those resources has been, I think, the biggest help for me to gain treatment acceptance.
Yeah, 100%. As a patient, like, you want to see what's happening, being able to see a visual definitely helps. Dr. Lamer, how about for you? What's helped you?
Yeah, what Tyler said is gold there, and definitely the iTero is huge, because you take the scan and it's like, hey, we can show you right here. We can talk about this. You can see it, and I think when they see it, it's when they look at an X-ray and you're like, hey, you see this tiny little black shaded area kind of right there? Yeah, that's cavity. We should fill that. Versus like, here's your tooth. I blow it up nice and big. It's like, what do you see here? Oh, it looks like it's dark there. Yeah, it is dark there. We should do a filling. So that's huge. Another thing that I do is I have a intraoral camera that I'll use, especially like if I find a cracked tooth. Tyler had mentioned, cracked teeth. We see a lot of those during the pandemic. So I have a little transilluminator, and we'll take a quick picture and kind of show them where the crack is, and how that is, and talk about cracked teeth there. So that's been hugely helpful. I think anything that you can do to really, show the patient in a way that they can understand that's not an X-ray, because unless you're in dental, like X-rays, nobody knows what's going on there.
Yeah, that's true. I never knew what I was looking at growing up as a kid. Like, they'd show me things. I would be like, yeah, sure. So another good question, since we're already on the topic, what does the tech look like in the offices? I know you guys mentioned iTero and a few other things. Dr. Rovers, what does the tech look like for you?
Yeah, so my office, when it opened in March, and I think this goes for any new offices that open, we opened with a CBCT and an iTero, which is extremely helpful, because we do all of our like implant stuff fully guided, so we have both things there that we need. CBCT is really helpful if I have a question of, all right, is this tooth like sitting on top of the nerve, or am I going to expose the sinus when I take this tooth out? Things like that. I can take a quick CBCT, or a lot of times communicating with the oral surgeon, the CBCT has been really nice. Other than that, like, I really enjoy doing Invisalign. So the iTero has been pretty awesome, because that's one thing that got me into Aspen is I knew there was that technology, and I knew I wanted to get into doing Invisalign as well.
Awesome. Dr. Lamer, how about you? What does the technology look like?
Yeah, Tyler kind of hit the CBCT and the iTero. Something we just got that's rolling out in our office is the Gemini laser. So we're going to start using that in both as a hygiene application, but also for soft tissue surgery, like excising things and troughing for crowns and different things. Like I have Another laser that's just older, not as good. So I'm really excited that they're rolling that out there. But when I came in, what was really cool is they handed me the Henry Schein catalog, and they're like, "Hey, just order everything you need." And I was like, "Okay, great." So it was like Christmas. I got to order all sorts of forceps and elevators that I want to try out, and the type of stuff that I was familiar with from school for endo and things like that. So it's just pretty much anything that you want or you want to explore, we can figure out a way to get it for you.
Awesome. So I do want to be mindful of your guys' time. So we'll take just a few more questions here. One of the questions is, do you recommend going into a GPR or an associate role? Dr. Robers, you want to take that first?
Yeah, this is one of the things that I feel pretty strongly about, but unless you're planning to do like hospital dentistry, or you find a GPR that's very specific for you want to do a certain type of thing, I believe that an associateship is much more beneficial if you just want to be a general dentist and do normal general dentistry things, because that's what you're going to gain experience with an associate role. And if you find a good mentor, you're going to learn a lot, probably a lot more, and see a lot more patients than you would in a GPR, and you're going to make a lot more money. So to me, I don't really find the benefit in GPR unless it's something specific that GPR offers that you really want to do once you get it out into practice.
Gotcha. Cool. And then I know everybody obviously has different opinions. So Dr. Lemmer, what do you think?
Man, I wish I had a different opinion than Tyler, but I kind of feel like the same. It's ultimately it's a choice that you have to make for yourself and know what you need. But I feel like if you're wanting to do dentistry, the only way that you're really going to learn how to do that is by doing dentistry. You'll do more dentistry as an associate role than you will in a GPR. That said, if you're dabbling on, well, do I want to go into specialty later? Do I want to, try out these different things? Like GPR is really good for that. If you're looking to get into oral surgery residency, a lot of times you can't get in right away. So, doing a GPR that gives you a lot of oral surgery experience can be something that's really good if that's the route you're going. But if you want to be a dentist, just go be a dentist.
All right. Appreciate it, guys. So the next question here that we'll wrap up with is, what are your future plans with dentistry? Dr. Robers, we'll start with you.
So my future plans are, I'd like to own an office, whether that be if it works out with Aspen or not. That's what I'd like to do in the future. One thing with Aspen is or really anywhere, is like location does matter. And to me, I don't really want to move anywhere. So all the offices around me are bought up and owned. So I may potentially partner, but we'll see. I just don't want to move. So if I did, there would be lots of great opportunities for me to own, but not really in the cards for me. I don't think my wife would let us move again.
Yep. Happy wife, happy life, right? Dr. Lammer, what about you? I know you're on the way to own an office, but
Yeah. So I'm on my way to own the one here in Grants Pass. What's kind of cool about the area that I went to, there's about 5 offices around here that are all unowned. I don't know that I want them all, but I think I want maybe a few of them. So that's sort of what I'm looking to do, is kind of purchase this office and then get to a point where I can basically train my replacement to, do what I do there. So I can start kind of building up the next office, and then, 2 for sure, not sure beyond that, but it just works out well. This is the area that my wife wanted to live in. So it works out that there's unowned offices here.
yeah.
It was a spot for you too, Tyler.
And you graduated 2019. Like, did you graduate knowing that you wanted to own? Like, that was like 100%, like, I'm doing it.
100%. Yeah. I knew that was what I wanted to do. And not only just own, like I really want to do multiple practices. And I think I've scaled back slightly after being in out for a year down to, I think originally I was like, I want to own 7. Now I'm like 2, maybe 3.
Yeah. So for those of you that are like, what the heck, how are you owning so many practices? So a lot of the support that our doctors get, they're supported by Aspen Dental Management that has multiple roles. So you have an office manager in every office. Then you have a regional manager that covers a region, obviously. Then you have a director that covers even more area. And you kind of have like a chain of command. So all of that support is for multiple offices. And if, those people are already overseeing those offices, it makes sense for the owner just to buy those since they're already covering some of the offices that they already own when they branch out. So there's people in the, at Aspen Dental that own 20 plus offices, which is insane to hear about, right? Because how can one person own so many? You mentor people, you train people up and they cover your office and you continue to do that and you kind of fill in where you need to. And I'm just speaking from what I've heard from doctors that I've worked with here on the East Coast. But again, I want to thank you both for your time. I really appreciate you guys volunteering a Friday night. I guess it's not night just yet for you guys. But again, really thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. Anything in closing you guys want to add before we close?
Yeah, don't sell your GameStop. You got to hold that.
That's hilarious. Dr. Rovers, what about you? Anything you want to close?
The only thing I would say is just enjoy your time in dental school too. Don't work too hard, and you're going to miss those friends you have in dental school. Once you get out, you won't have the time to go see them as often and things like that. So enjoy it while you're still in, and be confident in your skills when you get out, because you are an asset to anywhere you go. So be confident and meet your goals, I guess, or start working towards your goals once you're done.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Robert, I have your name down. You won the $10 gift card. I got you. I'm going to share my screen quick, just so you guys have my contact information. Hold on one second. There it is. So we're also offering, free CE during this time. If you guys want to sign up for it, it's aspendentalce.com/welcome. It's a whole library of CE courses that you can look into. You can register for it, and whatever, you want to kind of dive more into, you can. My email address is there at the bottom too, if you guys want to schedule a job shot out of practice near you, or if you just have questions that you think of later, feel free to reach out. If they're clinical, I'm sure the docs here wouldn't mind me forwarding some clinical questions, or I'll get you guys an answer. Don't worry. But yeah, thank you guys for, letting me do this. Shout out to District 4. I wish you guys the best. Look forward to tomorrow and Sunday. Stop by the booth. I'm giving out Apple AirPods. I'll let you guys do some digging to find out where that link is to submit your info for that. But other than that, I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Docs, thanks again. Bye, guys.